Jesus is hanging on the cross, and Peter is standing in the crowd watching him. Jesus calls to him, "Peter, come to me," and Peter runs forward. The Romans beat him mercilessly with their spears and throw him back. Again Jesus cries out, "Peter, come to your Savior," and Peter rushes forward to again be pounded silly by bored Roman guards. Dazed, he hears Jesus call him, and once more he surges through the guards, filled with holy strength. "Yes, my Lord, what do you need, O Son of God?" he cries, not feeling the horrible wounds covering his body from multiple savage beatings. And Jesus spoke, "Peter, I can see your house from here." A pastor was walking across a bridge one day and saw a man standing on the edge about to jump off. He immediately ran over and said, "Stop, don't do it." "Why shouldn't I?" he said. The pastor said, "Well, there's so much to live for." "Like what?" "Well, are you religious or atheist?" "Religious." "Me too," said the pastor. "Are you Christian or Jewish?" "Christian." "Me too." "Are you Catholic or Protestant?" "Protestant." "Me too." "Are you Episcopalian or Baptist?" "Baptist." "Wow, me too. Are you Baptist Church of God or Baptist Church of the Lord?" "Baptist Church of God." "Me too. Are you Original Baptist Church of God or are you Reformed Baptist Church of God?" "Reformed Baptist Church of God." "Me too. Are you Reformed Baptist Church of God Reformation of 1879 or Reformed Baptist Church of God Reformation of 1915? "Reformed Baptist Church of Reformation 1915. To which the pastor said, "Die, heretic scum," and pushed him off. A clergyman was walking down the street when he came upon a group of about a dozen boys, all of them between 10 and 12 years of age. The group surrounded a dog. Concerned lest the boys were hurting the dog, he went over and asked, "What are you doing with that dog?" One of the boys replied, "This dog is an old neighborhood stray. We all want him, but only one of us can take him home. So we've decided that whichever one of us can tell the biggest lie will get to keep the dog." Of course the Reverend was taken aback. "You boys shouldn't be having a contest telling lies," he exclaimed. He then launched into a 10-minute sermon against lying, beginning, "Don't you boys know it's a sin to lie," and ending with, "When I was your age, I never told a lie." There was a dead silence for about a minute. Just as the Reverend was beginning to think he'd gotten through to them, the smallest boy gave a deep sigh and said, "All right, give him the dog." Why did Jesus die on the cross? Because he forgot his safety word. What does "in re" stand for? I'm nailed right in. How did they know that Jesus was Jewish? Because he lived at home until he was 30. He went into his father's business. His mother thought he was God, and he thought his mother was a virgin. Why can't Jesus eat M&Ms? Because the candy falls through the holes in his hand. Jesus and Moses are sitting in a boat fishing, and Jesus says to Moses, "I want to do a miracle so we can feel like the good old days." And Moses says, "Yeah, sure." So Jesus gets up and says, "I think I'll walk on water. That was always a good one." So Jesus walks over to the edge of the boat, steps into the water, and sinks like a stone. Moses drags Jesus back into the boat and revives him. Moses then says, "What's the problem?" And Jesus says, "I think it's these holes in my feet." St. Peter was guarding the pearly gates, waiting for new souls coming to heaven. He saw Jesus walking by and caught his attention. "Jesus, could you mind the gate while I go do an errand?" "Sure," replied Jesus. "What do I have to do?" "Just find out about the people who arrive, ask about their background, their family, their lives, then decide if they deserve entry into heaven." "Sounds easy enough. Okay." So Jesus manned the gates for St. Peter. The first person to approach the gate was a wrinkled old man. Jesus summoned him to sit down and sat across from him. Jesus peered up the old man and asked, "What do you do for a living?" The old man replied, "I was a carpenter." Jesus remembered his own earthly existence and leaned forward. "Did you have a family?" he asked. "Yes, I had a son, but I lost him." Jesus leaned forward some more. "You lost your son? Can you tell me about him?" "Well, he had holes in his hands and feet." Jesus leaned forward even more and whispered, "Father?" The old man leaned forward and whispered, "Pinocchio?" There are 3 religious truths. Number 1, Jews do not recognize Jesus as the Messiah. Number 2, Protestants do not recognize the Pope as the leader of the Christian faith. And number 3, Baptists do not recognize each other in the liquor stores or at Hooters. Jesus walks upon a crowd with an adulteress crouching in a corner with a mob around her preparing to stone her to death. Jesus stops them and says, "Let he who is without sin cast the first stone." Suddenly a woman at the back of the crowd fires off a stone at the adulteress and blasts her right in the head. At which point Jesus looks over and says, "Mother, sometimes you really tick me off."